Our first speaker is James O'Toole.
Good evening, James O'Toole, 230 North Avenue, this city. We are a community that always comes together, in bad and in good. And the incident that happened the other day was bad, but people must understand the New Rochelle Police Department, which we all know, is a great department.
Excuse me.
Of course.
Excuse me, sir.
But anything like that, that's okay.
Excuse me, sir, if you would suspend for just a moment. I must insist, and I will ask for the same on behalf of every speaker who approaches this podium, whatever view they express, that I ask everyone here to please demonstrate respect for neighbors and listen attentively without calling out comments. Sir, please go ahead.
Thank you. On August 1st of this year, coming up, we're going to have National Night Out right in the building right next door. And I know many of you, I've gone to it many years, and I know a lot of you have come to it. I know a lot of faces in this city, right? Do you think, for one brief shining moment, that those 3 police officers wanted to do what happened the other day? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We have a great department. We have a great police department, folks. And the other thing I want to comment on is what's happening in front of New Rochelle Farms. This gentleman, Jose, who owns this store, no, he has done everything right for this community. Everything right for this community, folks.
Excuse me. Once again. I am pleading with everyone present. Anyone who disagrees with a speaker has an opportunity to fill out a card, come to the podium, and express their view. No one will be silenced. No one will be prevented from offering whatever opinion they want. But for this process to work, for all of us to function as neighbors, we have to demonstrate a basic level of respect for each other and allow each other to speak. I ask you, please, to suspend comments from the floor and give due respect to all who are at the podium. Please proceed, sir.
So New Rochelle Farms came to this city a few years ago, and people in the neighborhood, including myself, begged for a supermarket to be put in this area because the nearest supermarket was up on Quaker Ridge Road, on Main Street, Seatown, Stop and Shop and ShopRite, one on Main, which closed, and one on Palmer Avenue. And I saw community members come to council meetings begging for a grocery store to come. Now listen, this gentleman shh. You could have a health food store. I'm just saying, this man, this gentleman, his family, what is happening now is not right. It's not right. Listen, everybody. Okay. See, so nobody wants to listen. So this is what we get. To those who are calling out, ask yourselves whether you are doing justice to your own cause. Yes. Okay. And I think you will conclude that you make your case most persuasively to your neighbors and to all who are watching by coming to the podium and offering your comments in that fashion. Okay. If this continues, I will have no choice but to ask people to excuse themselves. I do not want to do that. I want everyone to have an opportunity to be present, to hear, and to speak in personal.
I'm sorry.
No.
All of being insensitive to my family right now. I know that you're here for justice for my cousin, but let the people speak. If you want to speak, go up and put your card up. You're being disrespectful. This is hard for us.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is hard for us. Stop.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. And Mr. O'Toole, please proceed.
Thank you. So that's all I'm saying is, folks, we need to all come together. We're a great community. New Rochelle is a great community. Everybody knows my father was a sports writer here for 58 years. He wrote probably about most of the parents that are in this hall right now who ever played sports. Believe me, We have a great community. All I'm saying is, let's, like this forum is, we could come out here and speak our piece. I pray for the family of Jarrell. I pray for the New Rochelle Police Department, and I pray for the community of New Rochelle and all its residents. Please, let's come together and we can get through this. God love you.
Our next speaker is Aisha Cook.
Hi, Aisha Cook, 95 Faneuil Place. I'm here on behalf of the New Rochelle branch of the NAACP. I just assumed the role of acting president in Mark McLean's absence, and I express my condolences to the family. I just want to read what I sent to all of you, to the press, and to other people, including the Attorney General. Statement from the New Rochelle branch NAACP on the police-involved shooting of Jarrell Garris, July 10th, 2023. The New Rochelle branch of the NAACP is outraged by the news of the police shooting of Jarrell Garris, an unarmed African-American man, in the middle of the day on Lincoln Avenue in New Rochelle on July 3rd, 2023. Subsequent to speaking with Jarrell's family, I spoke to his mom, the police commissioner, elected officials, and reviewing the released police body cam footage, we are left with many unanswered questions. What we know is that there was a call to the NRPD over alleged shoplifting from a local supermarket. The released body cam footage showed Jarrell calmly walking away from two female police officers who were trying to engage him in conversation. They were joined by a third male police officer. It is unclear how that situation escalated to the point where an officer discharged a firearm, resulting in gunshot wounds, leaving Jarrell hospitalized fighting for his life, which has changed since I sent this letter. Food insecurity is not a death sentence. Mental illness is not a death sentence. We, this community, are calling for the release of the full body cam footage and for a complete, thorough, and timely and transparent investigation into the events that transpired here. Our thoughts and prayers are with Jarrell and his family at this time, and may I please just add, this community, we are a great community, but because of those of us who are in this community, who care about this community, and who think that we have the right to live and march and be in these streets and not be killed because someone, and I'm not saying because someone can't handle who we are. I need everyone to be able to look at us in our faces and see our humanity and know that we do not deserve to die because someone calls the police to help them in a situation that they think is unfair. The police are not here to kill. They're not judge and jury and executioner. Jarrell deserved to have his rights upheld.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Lord Markham. Okay. Our next speaker in that case is Vince Malfitano.
I said defer.
Oh.
Respect the right to relax for a minute.
Okay, so you would like me to call you up a little later, is that, sir?
Please.
Is that correct? Then I will. Then Vince Malfitano is next.
Yeah, hi, Vince Malfitano. I came here for another reason, and this was it. But I will speak about the issue that's before us tonight. I guess our community doesn't know that our library and the Friends of the Library paid to have a drag show put on in our library for 3 to 8-year-old kids. Isn't that a great thing? Let's applaud that. Don't we believe in diversity? Don't we love that? But when I asked these guys, wasn't your name used to be Drag Queen Story Hour? But now you changed it, just a Drag Story Hour. Do you know why? because of the obvious, correct, negative sexual connotation of having a 3-year-old sit in front of a drag queen. So now they want to try to make it look more palatable. But I asked them, why don't you just call yourselves Story Hour? Because this is all about indoctrination, folks. It's all about trying to push an agenda, which some of you seem to be very happy about. But in any case, for tonight, of course, my heart goes out to the family. My own kids have had different encounters and other folks over the years with police. My brother was a police officer, passed away not long ago. I have a nephew on the job in New York City. It's a tough job. But we have a dilemma in our town that when something like this occurs, I think there might be a rush to judgment. What do I know? Well, this man was walking away from a store, maybe stole some stuff, maybe didn't. But a store owner, who I know the mayor and Ms. Ramos her, but I saw a photo on Facebook, happily celebrating the opening of that store, you know, celebrating the supermarket. He called the police for help. He didn't have one of his workers beat the guy down in the store. He didn't go up to the guy himself. He did what he's supposed to do. He says, hey, look, somebody's stealing. Now, should he have called? You know, I don't know, he took some food, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, he did what we want citizens to do when they think they're having a problem, call the necessary authorities. So now we're blockading his store, and we're closing him down. That is an injustice in and of itself. But the bottom line is, this is how fascism rises, ladies and gentlemen. When people spoke in Germany, the mob would shout them down. The brown shirts, the black shirts of Mussolini and Hitler would act like you. So understand who your friends are. You're traveling in good company by shouting down speakers. But in any case, let's try to get justice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Our next speaker, and forgive me, it's difficult for me to read the handwriting, but I believe it's Kasim Parnell. Kasim Parnell, okay. Is Mr. Parnell, okay, thank you, sir. If there, pardon me, before you go on, sir, if there are conversations in the back, I'd ask you to please take them outside. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I'm a little nervous because I don't usually do this, but I don't know. I was born here spiritually to, express my concern and my, sadness and hurtness of the city I grew up in as a kid, All I'm saying, I don't need 3 minutes. I just need 30 seconds. All I know is, at the end of the day, I've been living here for 40 years of my whole life, right? And for the first time ever, I never thought in a million years, and people could back me up, no disrespect to Mount Vernon or Yonkers or the Bronx, Brooklyn or Queens or Staten Island. But I can honestly say, as of right now, as far as it comes to protecting and serving, listen, it's safer to live in Yonkers, Mount Vernon, Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, and Manhattan than New Rochelle for the last 2 years. And that hurts, man, because I've been living here my whole life, But all I'm saying is this, man. We need a police reform. We need something up there, man, because, I got a lot of my family hurting, And I'm not perfect, I mean? I done been incarcerated and all that. That's not even neither here nor there, but I never been hurt, In this new era, these new cops you guys is hiring, I don't know what training they going through, but it's like shoot first and ask questions later, and that's not good. We live in New Rochelle, Like I said, man, it's safer to live in Yonkers in Mount Vernon than New Rochelle, and it never been like that. I've been on this earth for 40-some years, man, and it's never been like that, Mayor. So I'm just saying, man, I ask the family and everybody, man, and I don't know, justice needs to be served, man. It needs to be a real investigation, a real independent investigation, and I think it needs to be a new system on how we train these police officers, man, because I'm one that deal with mental health issues, and at the end of the day, a fruit, come on, man, it just That's all I need. I'm past 30 seconds, but I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to start calling up speakers 3 at a time, so the first can proceed to speak. The others, if they would like to, can approach the front of the room so that we can move things along as efficiently as possible. So our next 3 speakers will be Joe Andrews, Attilia Taylor-Tanner, and Lisa Burton.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Andrews, 361 Main Street. I just always, we had a meeting, or the police reform had a meeting a month ago, and they discussed how they would handle situations like this. What's surprising to me is that whenever the call came in, I thought in my mind that based on the situation, and throughout times that I heard when it comes to dealing with situations, when it comes to the police, that the most deadly force is always the last resort. And that don't seem like this took place in this situation, meaning it started off the way it's supposed to start off, but it ended in a situation where the most aggressive force was unnecessary. So we ask ourselves, what message are we sending to our youth? That in a situation like this, that if they in a situation like this, how will they be handled? And this is a young adult, but now youth that's seen this and heard about this, how will they deal with that situation? Have anybody even thought about that? And when they walk in, or they out in the street, that the police supposed to be a model to address concerns. Now, what trust do we really think that the youth will have in the police department at this point?
Thank you, sir. Attilia Taylor-Tanner, followed by Lisa Burton.
Hi, good evening. Attilia Taylor-Tanner. I live 242 Lincoln Avenue. And this reminds me, first of all, my condolences to the family. And this reminds me of the vagrancy laws 160 years ago. So if you are hungry or unable to communicate properly, the police can provide bully policing. My children, where I grew up in Spanish Harlem, we had La Maqueta, we had Mr. Eusebio, God rest his soul. They knew the people in the neighborhood. So they knew us by name. They gave my grandmother and I credit. We can go down and get $1 worth of bologna, which is unheard of. We did not have to worry about being hungry and taking food. But the people in our community that served our community looked and spoke like we did. So I suggested to the Chamber of Commerce that when we have these types of establishments in our communities, if it's a farm, then I'm a cow. And I don't think I'm a cow. So it's not a farm. The prices are criminal. The prices are 3 times more money than it can be. So that's the crime, right? So we have to be aware of what we're calling crimes. So in the vagrancy laws 160 years ago, you were not allowed to be hungry, and for any reason you could be arrested and trumped up charges. That's what it seems happened here. I'm suggesting that when we have these types of businesses in predominantly black and brown communities, it shouldn't be like farm-raised shrimp. You shouldn't have to come here when you need to write a ticket or when you need to be aggressive. So maybe some of these establishments should have some type of training, anti-racist training or something similar, because this is just not going to continue to happen. So I'd like to, with permission with the board and with the council, to resubmit a letter that I sent in 2018 suggesting that the area that we live in, and I live on Lincoln Avenue by choice, and I love my community, and I love our school, and I love my city, but I love my children so much that I would not allow them to go to 777. They are not allowed to go to that farm. They're just not allowed. I'd rather go to Chico's in Pelham, because I know they don't like me, but at least I have to be respectful.
Thank you, ma'am. Lisa Burton?
Lisa Burton, 257 Center Avenue. To the family, I'm so sorry. I grew up with Burnett on Hemingway, anyway, when I saw the name, I couldn't believe it. You know, when we had the killing of Kamel Flowers, that was an opportunity that we missed. We missed because you know, we hear people talk about not rush to judgment, but we certainly do rush to cover everyone's ass. I mean, you know, we rush to make sure that there's nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. We did the best that we could, blah, 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 blah. We could have all the policies in the world, but when I was on the Police Reform Committee, and the former commissioner from Camden said, culture and policy, that policy is what dies because of the culture. So our police culture is so uneven. I was driving down Webster and someone was having a moment, standing in the middle of the street, interrupting traffic. Officer Johnson and whoever was with him got out, talked to the guy, got him to the sidewalk. When I left, they were talking to him and getting him home. That could have happened. That should have happened. That should have happened. So what's going to happen, and I promise you this is what's going to happen, because the same way that, you know, the officer that was involved in Kamel Flowers' killing, he got, you know, come May in the spring, the Police Foundation gave him an award. So we will see an award to these police officers as well, which is a slap in the face, because we are so much more interested in making sure that the police department is okay, that the police foundation is okay, that the police union is okay, that our city seems as if nothing's going on here, that we are all one big and happy family. And I love New Rochelle. You know, we moved here when I was 9. You know, I'm 63 and I'm still here. I raised my kids here. I own a home here. I love this town, but we cannot keep acting like there's nothing wrong. And we can't keep acting like if we don't say anything or if everyone's well behaved, it'll go away. Because when Kamel Flowers was killed, it was like, oh, we haven't had a killing in 7 years. That didn't give comfort to the family of the man who was killed 7 years prior, and it's not going to give comfort to the Garris family now. So we have to take a step back and be brutally honest and figure this out, because time is ticking.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next 3 speakers are Valerie Williams, Maxine Golub, and Henderson Clark.
Good evening, City Council in New Rochelle. I'm Valerie Williams. I live at 70 Locust Avenue in New Rochelle. I'm a lifelong resident of New Rochelle. I grew up 80 Winthrop Avenue and various places in New Rochelle. Repeat after me. Justice for Jarrell.
Justice for Jarrell.
Justice for Jarrell.
Justice for Jarrell.
My deepest sympathy and condolences to Jarrell's family, to the Garris family, the Fowler family. When I watched the video and I saw his sister say, "Why are they doing this to us?" That was my same question, and I was crying as well. And I thank Mr. Fowler, Jarrell's father, for comforting his daughter, because that comforted me too. Mr. Jarrell Garris was the son, father, brother, uncle, family, and friend of many, and a New Rochellian. He was visiting his hometown and intended to leave in the evening that tragic day when he was shot by the New Rochelle police. My deepest sympathy. As Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied up in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. No one has begged for another black man to be shot by the police. Food insecurity and food is not a death sentence. And I stand with the New Rochelle branch of the NAACP on that. From Low HUD, body cam footage released by the NRPD appeared to back up the assertion. It shows Garris apparently ignoring attempts by police to talk to him, initially walking away. When officers tried to place him under arrest, a scuffle ensued. One officer can be called for, heard being calling for a taser, which we would expect. And then another one said he's got a gun, but he's got a gun, which he did not have a gun. I request that the City Council, that the officers involved in the fatal encounter with Jarrell Garris not continue to work in New Rochelle. And they're not permitted to stay on, and if they are permitted to stay on the police force, receive training and be provided with resources, as well as the other police officers in New Rochelle. Justice for Jarrell.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Maxine Golub.
Good evening. My name's Maxine Golub. I live at 98 Bayberry Lane in New Rochelle. And today I am ashamed and saddened to say that I live in New Rochelle. I am ashamed and disgusted that my tax dollars have been used to shoot a man over a few dollars worth of food. I am ashamed that neither our city council, our mayor, or our presumed mayor-elect is willing to stand up and say publicly, this was wrong. Regardless of the outcome of any further investigation, this was wrong. I'd lay the blame for the tragedy squarely on our city government, which tolerates the kind of policing that permits this to occur. There were so many alternative approaches to this situation. The police could have walked Mr. Garris home, or let him go alone and gone there later to discuss with the family member present what to do. They could have called the new mobile crisis team for assistance. Instead, the aggressive intervention by Detective Khan, in contrast to the officers who preceded him, resulted in a senseless shooting. This behavior needs to be called out as irresponsible, inappropriate, immoral, and criminal that it was. And the government of our city must demand that the culture of our police force change drastically and recognize that a man's life is worth more than a few dollars worth of food. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Clark?
First and foremost, I want to say rest in power and paradise to Jarrell Garris and Kamal Flowers. He's got a gun. Lies are being fed to the people who vowed to bring change to a city that's been oppressing black communities for decades. He's got a gun was the words yelled out as an unjustified reason. No, excuse me. He's got a gun was the words yelled out as a justified reason to kill a man, son, father, uncle, brother, loved one over a piece of fruit. He's got a gun was the same words used 3 years ago in the same city when my loved one Kamal Flowers was murdered. Mayor, you was at a press conference and lied with a straight face. And it's sad. Because here we are 3 years later, faced with a bunch of lies, media twisting lies coming from people that manipulated my community just to get a political seat and still do nothing for the black communities. It's clear that division still lies in this city. Racial division, economic division, development division. Officer Khan should be charged with murder. The only question is, when?
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Guy Coleman, Nancy Street, and Eugene Tazi.
Good evening, Guy Coleman. I'm not giving my address because that's nobody's business. I'm here because Jarrell was like family. My condolences to his family. I love y'all. Y'all already know that. But I just want to say to the Caucasian people, and I'm not racist, I want y'all to look at the picture. If it was a black cop and he shot a white man, a black cop and he shot a white man, what would happen? Y'all will be out here marching. Y'all will be out here harassing people like y'all always do. Y'all don't do your job. Name, whatever your name is, Branson, what are you here for? You're not doing nothing for the community, and neither are you, Yadira. Neither are you. I'm sorry, I'm keeping it 100. Neither are you. It's sad that man got killed for a fucking banana and grapes. Was it that serious? No. You got these young cops, they anxious to shoot. How you going to get them to the ground and say, tase him, tase him, tase him, and then next thing you know, he gets shot? Y'all did the same thing to Kamal. Y'all say he had a gun and he didn't even have a gun. I'm going to take it back to 1984 when y'all killed Alvin Flowers and Church's Fried Chicken. Okay? The same cop that killed Alvin Flowers, his last name was McKenna. McKenna killed Kamal Flowers.
And I have proof.
When is it going to stop? When? I grew up in New Rochelle all my life. 53 years. Here, my mother brought me home to New Rochelle, Hartley housing. It has to stop. Y'all looking at me like I'm crazy, but y'all know what y'all doing. Y'all sliding shit up under the door, but you know what? God has the last answer. And you think that you're going to keep doing what you're doing, and we supposed to come out here and vote for y'all and do all of this, and y'all not doing nothing for the community. Y'all building all these big buildings, and the only ones working there is Spanish people. I don't see no blacks working there. None. It's sad. It really is. Excuse me, what's his name? Branson is your last name? Bronson? When you going to start doing what you need to do?
He's on his way out. He ain't worried.
Because I have yet to see you get up and hug any of his family members and tell them you're sorry. I have yet to see you stand down there in front of that store where you cut the ribbon, though. When they opened up the store, you cut the ribbon, but you didn't come down there to say your condolences to that family. You out of here.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Nancy Street. Nancy Street, followed by Eugene Tazi. Is Nancy Street present? Okay, then Eugene Tazi.
My name is Eugene Tazi. I live at 8 Sycamore Avenue. My deepest condolences to Mr. Garris' family. I come here with a great sense of shame for our city government and for my own failure as a citizen to stop violent policing of our black community. 3 years and 28 days after the killing of Kamal Flowers, we're here again. What happened to Flowers and what happened to Jarrell Garris were the same script. No violent crime had taken place in advance. A traffic stop, eating fruit in a store without paying. Neither Flowers nor Garris escalated the situation. In both these cases, a New Rochelle police officer escalated the situation to the point of gunfire. We now have a pattern of behavior. It is a pattern based upon the failure of our police department, 2 city managers, 2 police commissioners, and our city council to recognize the structural racism that encourages and underlines this behavior. No white man has been shot by police in New Rochelle in that time. We have body camera footage. 2 female officers approached Mr. Garris to discuss the food incident. He doesn't respond and walks slowly across the street, the clue that he might not be able to respond rationally. They follow and continue to attempt and engage him, and then a 3rd officer comes quickly out of his car. We hear, "You're under arrest," and within 20 seconds, he's got a gun. He didn't have a gun. The only guns there were the officers. I have written to you about Project Able. It recognizes the need to change the culture of policing. With those 2 female officers trained to give Mr. Garris some time and space, that seemed how it started off. Were they empowered to say to the other officer, "Hold off a bit, stand by, give us a chance to work this"? It might have taken 30 minutes, maybe to walk him home. Maybe his family would have volunteered to pay for the food. Was Mr. Garris's life not worth 30 minutes of time from the New Rochelle police? How many of our officers have been commended and promoted for escalating situations and making fast, quick physical arrests? How many have been commended and promoted for de-escalating situations so that people don't get hurt? That is what Project Able is about. The commissioner says, "We've done the training, but you haven't done the work."
Thank you, sir. Let me come back now to Lord Markham. Sir, do you wish to speak now? Markham, forgive me. Okay, I didn't realize you were sitting there already. Sir, I invite you to speak.
First of all, can we get like 15-second moment of silence for all the people who are fallen? My condolences. Man, I had one son. You took that man's son. Okay, so what is PAC for? Why are these officers coming in our community? What is PAC for? What is PAC for?
Nothing.
You send the officers nice and friendly to gather information. They know everybody. He was challenged, and the officers knew that. Challenged. What? It's a joke. This is mental health awareness. How do you sleep at night? How do you sleep at night? Mental Health Awareness Month. And this man is crazy. How many guns have been pulled on officers? I've been here 54 years. How many? Let's be transparent. How many people have pulled a gun on officers? I never heard of it. Maybe I'm wrong. These are the things that I'm challenging. And then you got some all we good is for sports. Joe Facina and whoever. All we good is for sports. O'Toole. That's all we good for. Nigga, stay in your lane. That's all we good for, man. So miss that.
Talk, bro.
I cry every time I see the father shaking. He was a protector of our community.
Yes, he is.
In the streets, in jail, whatever. Selfless. How do you sleep at night? You took somebody's child. And then convenience. You learned from the last one. Release the tape. That will be go quiet. This is not going quiet. I promise you. As long as I'm alive, we want answers. Tell us where Steve Carr lived, and then we'll go to his house instead of Jose's store. Fuck that store.
How would you feel if it was your child?
I don't give a fuck about the store.
How would you feel if it's your child?
Change is not going to come by coming and talking, y'all. What are you willing to sacrifice? This is the people. What are we willing to sacrifice?
I'm right with you.
I question everybody in my community. What are you willing to sacrifice? We got to sacrifice. We got to put our petty differences to the side and come together.
That's right.
We human. There's a lot of officers that I'm cool with. Officer Perry, I worked for his father. A great human dude, man. He'd curse you out, but he was human. You're not human. Money is more important than life. Black people is a birthright to y'all. Study history, you see it. The PAC officers, they know Jarrell. All the officers, and they know. Some of the officers know me. I done punched plenty of police in the face, and I never got shot. I got maced a few times, but I never got shot. And then I questioned the training. Worst case scenario, if you had to shoot him, why you ain't shoot him in the leg? He could have got shot in the leg. You shot the man in the neck? There's no way that you can explain this. But I'm going to tell you something. It ain't their fault. It's our fault.
Come on.
It's our fault. A black life means nothing. There was police officers, Flowers, Rosabella, Moffitt, that would have came over there and said, what? Man, I'll go pay for that.
Exactly. Jose, whoever his name could have been.
Our next speakers are Sharon Foots. What I have on the card is the African American Advisory Committee, so I presume someone is speaking on their behalf, and then Bruce Soloway. So, Ms. Foots, if you're present. Is Ms. Foots here?
Yes, she is.
I'll hold the card for her. And who wishes to speak on behalf of the African American Advisory Committee? Mr. Adams? Okay. I see various members are here. You can all approach.
You can start the clock. Go ahead.
Name?
That was the amount of time that it took for an officer to get out of his car and go for an arrest when he didn't have to. I'm sorry, committee, because I'm hearing people speaking from their heart. And we like to come up with statements. I'm not going to read my statement. I'm just going to say one thing. Newburgh, 0. Peekskill, 0. Poughkeepsie, 0. Mount Vernon, 0. Yonkers, 0. The Bronx, 0. A town of New Rochelle, 2. There's something that's drastically wrong with that. And if we can't understand that that's a problem, then we got a problem. And we have to get to the place to admit that problem and start making change. My condolences to the family. May God continue to keep you in your bosoms and your arms, Mom. And listen, we're here. And may God continue to rest your souls, and may God continue to rest Jarrell's soul right now. And with that stated, the African American Advisory Committee is shocked and stunned by the tragic events surrounding the New Rochelle police-involved shooting and death of Jarrell Garris, an unarmed African American former resident here of New Rochelle. The AAAC continues to meet with the City of New Rochelle NRPD and our community partners to determine the full extent of what took place on July 3rd when Jarrell Garris was approached by 3 members of the NRPD community that resulted in a struggle which ultimately took his life. The AAAC is calling for the immediate release of unedited body cam footage of the July 3rd arrest, significant reform in the NRPD's protocols for interacting with the African American community, and individuals with known mental health challenges. Hiring practices that represent our community at large. Hiring practices that represent our community at large. And the formation of residence community officers as suggested by the Police Review Board. We can police ourselves. AAAC will pursue its advocacy for transparency and continue to monitor the situation. We will continue to monitor the situation. And now we're down to 20 seconds. Sit in on everything that was said tonight. Please do not pass through these cards. Please do not pass through these messages like we're just going through it. Please listen to the people of the community that you represent. And if it comes from your heart, you'll make change.
All right.
Thank you very much, sir. I see that Sharon Foots is returned, so Ms. Foots, you can proceed.
Good evening. So I wanted to come and I wanted to be poignant. I wanted to be respectful of the family and bless all of you. And I can't imagine what any of you are going through. But for the people that are still here, I kind of wrote something and then I figured, nah, I'm not going to do that because then that would mean that I should give you the respect that I would hope that you would have given us. No shade to anybody in the audience, but I come to these meetings all the time and you guys know good darn well you do not respect our black lives. You throw around words like equity, you throw around words like inclusion, you throw around words like diversity. You had the nerve to label the city ideally yours. So let me talk to the audience. Care not about this funky meeting that we are having. This is a box that they check because it is a thing that they need to do. So what I encourage the people in the audience to do, because they respect property over lives, I expect everyone in here, go to 500 Main Street, shut it down. Go to the RXR building where they're building, make it uncomfortable for them to move those trucks in and out. Ideally, New Rochelle, for whom? Not us. And you have made that blatantly clear. Anytime you see a construction site come up, anytime you see another grant, anytime there is something moving that profits these clowns on this stage, shut it down. Martha Lopez, a young man got shot in the West. She came up with $150,000 to donate to that incident. Have you seen any of these people up here, even for a show of solidarity, even for a show of we care? They are telling you we do not care about your black ass. You do not need to be in here and be civil. I'm not encouraging anybody to riot, but you do not have to respect them because they have clearly not respected you. If you want to see some stuff happen, I promise you they will move. Every single site that this is Mental Health Awareness Month. Every time you put up a post, hashtag mental health awareness, right? We're not worried about the pseudo church leaders in this community because we know most of them show up just to show up. You got to reach outside of the community, okay? I reiterate to you, if you need to ask me a question, I'm at Denise Smith on Facebook, all right? I'm telling you, organize. Do not continue to be in this reactionary space of yelling and screaming. Shut it down. New Rochelle is and always will be ideally for us. And if you do not want to share the space that all of you continue to live in will be fucking uncomfortable.
Dr. Soloway?
Sympathies to Jarrell. Bruce Soloway, 76 Vaughan Avenue. My sympathies to everybody in the family. Here we are again. This incident shows that a racist and toxic culture persists within the New Rochelle Police Department, and much more work will be needed to get rid of it. The city was wise in its decision to release the body camera videos quickly. This was a welcome gesture of transparency and trust that made clear exactly what happened on Lincoln Avenue, as well as demonstrating the importance of the body cameras themselves. But the images from that video are disturbing and disheartening. I'm no expert, but to my eyes, this looks like a textbook case of how to unnecessarily and recklessly escalate a routine police encounter into a deadly assault. Officers Bird and Chivari appeared to be handling the situation professionally, attempting to engage Mr. Garris in conversation. Detective Khan, on the other hand, emerges from his car a distance away, immediately announces that Mr. Garris is under arrest, runs over, cuffs Mr. Garris's right hand, and attempts to restrain him. Mr. Garris loses a shoe, falls over one of the other officers, and Detective Khan calls for a taser. Mr. Garris then extends his left arm, perhaps in an effort to break his fall. Detective Khan calls out he's got a gun, and the video ends, apparently just before Detective Khan fires his weapon. Why was Mr. Garris placed under arrest? He wasn't running away. He wasn't threatening anyone. Should a person be physically detained based on a report that someone stole a few items from a store? Could the officers have continued to follow him home, speak with him, spoken with his family? Most importantly, how would this incident have been managed if it involved a white man in the Waikiki shopping center instead of a black man on Lincoln Avenue? This question defines the persistent racial disparities in policing in New Rochelle. What needs to be done now? The CPBB needs to be given all the information they need to evaluate this incident, as required by the serious incident provision of the city's 2021 police reform plan.
They need to be paying attention. Why are you texting?
The city needs to support the ongoing state and county investigations, and the police commissioner needs to assert his disciplinary authority. The city will be watching to see whether these officers are held accountable for their actions or whether they will be excused, like Officer Alec McKenna was, after his still unexplained aggressive behavior in the pursuit and killing of Kamal Flowers 3 years ago. And we need the Independent Civilian Complaint Review Board promised in 2021, which is now over a year behind schedule. The CPBB and the city need to complete their work on this issue and install an independent, empowered CCRB as soon as possible. But accountability is not enough, nor is implicit bias training, for what that's worth. The NRPD requires a comprehensive anti-racist institutional culture.
Thank you, Dr. Solomon.
Excuse me, I was interrupted by applause and by shouts. I'm going to finish my statement.
You're right. I'll give you, sir. I'll give you a little extra time in light of that, in light of the applause.
An anti-racist NRPD would assure equitable hiring and promotion, diverse leadership, full anti-racist training for all officers and staff, and a zero-tolerance approach to all expressions of racial bias. Perhaps with a truly anti-racist department, our black neighbors might begin to feel safe and protected rather than occupied and threatened by the NRPD.
Thank you, sir. Our next three speakers are Dan Miller, Rashawn Davis, and Patricia O'Keefe.
It's okay. Good evening, I'm Dan Miller, 14 Lakeside Drive. Let me start by offering my condolences to the family. I started to write something today, and when I was driving here, I decided to speak a little bit from the heart first. I'm a father of 2 sons. I started thinking about when my boys were young, as your son was young at some point. And I remember that I used to love wrestling with my sons. My sons used to love wrestling with me. And as they got older, I'm not a big man. They got big enough that at some point I couldn't keep it safe. I couldn't engage with them in a way that was safe anymore. And so I did what a father does. I told my sons, I can't do this with you anymore. We love this, but we can't do this anymore because it's not safe. That's my responsibility. It's my responsibility to keep them safe. I know there are facts about this shooting that are going to be debated for years, but there are also facts that are simple and clear and incontrovertible. A non-threatening, non-violent, unarmed man were shot in the street by a police officer after maybe eating a few pieces of fruit in a market. I frequently go into a market and sample the grapes and eat some fruit. No one accosts me in the street, and no one threatens my life, and nobody shoots me. I think we know why. This is unacceptable. You all know that I'm a physician. In my work, we talk about something called preventable deaths. I'm going to read you a definition. Preventable cause of death are causes of death related to risk factors which could have been avoided. The risk factor here is the police officer who has been so clearly described, creating a situation that they couldn't control. If they couldn't control the situation safely, they shouldn't create it. It's that simple. If they don't know how to do that, they shouldn't be allowed to serve. It's that simple. The responsibility to do something now is yours. You are the city council. You supervise, you hire and fire the person who supervises, hires and fires the police commissioner. This is your responsibility. This is avoidable. It's happened again and again, and it cannot happen anymore. You have to do something about this. It's time to act. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rashawn Davis.
So Jarrell is my cousin, and may he rest in peace. One of the things I want to say is that why every time, a black person have an interaction with police, why does 4 or 5 of them have to come? And I know right now it's a lot of people that's been loud in here, but if 4 of them walked up on this stage right now, I know y'all would feel uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfortable feeling to have 4 guys walking up on you, screaming and yelling at you, may tell you to sit on the floor. What happened to de-escalating things?
Let's make it uncomfortable.
Another thing is...
Now,
you gonna pause it? You gonna pause it? Yo, can you gonna pause it like you paused the first guy? Excuse me, sir. I watched you pause the first guy, but I watched you pause.
This will not be taken from your time, sir.
I still watched you pause it, though.
It will not be.
We're not going on the stage. I just want to say.
No, sir. Sir.
He wants to stand beside me.
Right. He wants to stand with you without an outburst. That is fine.
Yeah, I'm standing right here. That's it.
Please, Ms. Sullivan, if you please give the speaker an extra 45 seconds. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, and to you, sir. We are from New Rochelle, but none of us are from Mount Vernon. And one thing we do see is Mount Vernon mayor. She's always on the news. She's shaking hands. She's in the community. You wait until these situations get to this point to come and shake a hand. And like they said, you haven't even been up there. And we definitely want to know where that $150,000 came from that the girl mentioned. Because no one definitely came and showed love to my peoples. Another thing that someone else said. I've never, in my 48 years in New Rochelle, seen 4 cops surrounding a white kid. And y'all probably never seen it either. And someone else said, Mount Vernon, dangerous neighborhood. The police officer do not shoot people out there. I don't know what is going on in New Rochelle, but the police officers in the black community, it seems like we can't get along. So we need to have police officers who know us. I know police officers that's on the police force. White ones, black ones. We all know John Jackson. He wouldn't have shot C2 because he's from our community. You're putting these guys, we don't know where they live at, probably Long Island or somewhere. They're coming into our communities, and like they said, whoever's hiring and firing, you're hiring the wrong people. Last but not least, I don't know how long Mr. Khan has been on the force, but I had an encounter with him 5 years ago in a parked car sitting by a fire hydrant, and he went around the block, parked his car on the side, and walked right up to our car and said, "Let me see your ID." So whoever hired him, that's why the situation happened the other day till you're under arrest. He don't respect black people.
Thank you, sir. Patricia O'Keefe is our next speaker.
Patricia O'Keefe, 35 Pizzard Avenue.
My condolences to the family. Police reform. What have we accomplished in New Rochelle? We spent a year on a policy document. We spent 2 years on Community Police Partnership Committee meetings. We've had police and community events, barbecues. We've had some promotions for minority officers. We saw Westchester County establish its rapid response team for mental health issues. And yet, in New Rochelle, we managed to see a petty crime turn into a homicide.
Yes, ma'am.
What are the New Rochelle Police Department's requirements for skills in de-escalation? What skills are required for managing interactions with persons experiencing mental health issues? Are these just talking points? Wasn't the goal to incorporate these concepts into the field to avoid tragedy? This shooting brings to the fore the fact that nothing at the core of policing in the Black community in New Rochelle has changed. The City of New Rochelle declared police reform to be a priority. The New Rochelle Police Department declared themselves to be willing partners. We have to do better than this. The Black community is devastated. We have let them down. As a city, we have let them down. As neighbors, we have let them down. As liberals, as progressives, as Democrats, we have let them down. The New Rochelle Police Department acts on my behalf, on your behalf, on our behalf. When they fail, we all fail.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next three speakers are Nora, I'm not sure if it's Lemorin or Lemovin, followed by Pastor James Booker, and then I think it's either Khan or Kuhn. So we'll begin with Nora Lemorin.
Before you start the clock, I just want to address the council members who are very busy on your phones and looking, that you can't afford this community and this family, this brief time, your attention. In my opinion, it's time to step down. It's a disgrace. The problem begins when you have a community where a vibrant Black business community was raised for 95 with a bunch of empty promises that were never fulfilled, and you put in a store that is hostile to the community. If you went into that store, the only people that look like the people living in that community are pushing brooms and carrying cartons. Nobody's touching money, nobody's dealing with customers, and so they don't know the community. Can you imagine if Black people opened a store on Union Avenue and didn't hire anyone in that community? Can you imagine if a store was opened in Quaker Ridge in Waikiki and nobody that looked like that community was hired? It would not be tolerated, and yet it's celebrated. The fact that our police department is who we send to respond to people with mental illness and do not provide them with training is a disservice to the community and a disservice to your police department. Would you want to go in ill-equipped and ignorant in how to deal with the situation? You're putting everyone at risk, and this is the outcome. The language surrounding this is so violent. We're talking about a banana and some grapes. When it was first reported, we were talking about larceny. I don't know who's speaking to the news media because it now has become theft and robbery. When you taste a grape in a store, nobody calls you a robber or a thief. All of your faces, this last primary, I can't even imagine the money that was spent. It was like a national election. I could not get your faces out of my doorway, off the TV, and yet when this happened, Mr. Quamaine Dixon is the only person who showed up. Where were you? Why did, and I knew as it was happening from social media, from moms of New Rochelle. So if I knew while it was happening, why didn't you know if it was happening? And if you did know while it was happening, where were you? No one was hurt, no one was in danger by him taking a banana and some grapes. If that store was not hostile to the community, they would have either turned a blind eye or turned to anyone who happened to be in there shopping or out on the street and say, can you cover your cousin's banana? And the moment that body cam cut off is awfully strange.
Pastor Booker?
The other person, Con.
Okay, Con, go ahead, sir.
All right, so I just want everybody to think and not to want to wait to react till it happens to them or it's theirs. Right. And that's what we always do when it's my family's. You know, it's my family, this is going to happen. Because it's my family's family. So I want us to all think about that. And not us from the neighborhood. I mean, those that ain't from our neighborhood. Those that feel like the store owner might have been justified. You guys in front of me, that I don't know how you feel about us. But think about it like if it was one of your grandsons or one of your nephews, and then think how you feel. And then ask yourself, why is that local peace officers are walking around with murder weapons? Because the only thing a gun does is kill humans. Like, they got tasers, there's training, we can speak to them. This is a community. They're not at Texas or El Paso. So, but you guys are the politicians, so that means that you got to push that to make it to where we don't have to worry about people killing anybody. Because God forbid if it, I'm not going to say that joke, but if it was your son, how would you be feeling? Or your son, or yours. You feel me? And then to New Rochelle Police Department, for those who don't feel like they're evil and you are wicked towards us, why aren't any of you here saying that? Because some of y'all be like, nah, we ain't bad, but none of y'all are here saying we ain't bad. So those who don't know feel like you're all bad, and they pointing at your badge.
I ain't never seen one turn another one in.
So, like I started out, I wanted everyone to think about if it was theirs. And just think about that, if it was their family directly. And God forbid, I'm not even going to say that, because those who know me know better know, because I'm not a joke, my nigga. I'm not even close to one. But think about if it was yours, man. All of y'all, those who were opposing, those who think the store owner, because the store owner shared that the man might have had problems. That wasn't communicated to the young man who jumped on the scene as the hero. The women on scene, the female officers knew this is why they didn't pull out the burners and the murder weapons. Guns, murder weapons. That's all they do. Peace.
Thank you, sir. Pastor Booker?
My name is Reverend James E. Booker Jr. I'm the new pastor of Mount Carmel AME Church at 78 Grove Avenue here in the city of New Rochelle. And I'm almost 60 years old. I remember as a child, and I'm going to try not to be emotional, at 11 years old, my mother said, Jimmy, if you're running for the bus, and you hear a police officer say, stop, even if you know it's not you. I wonder how many of you have had to tell your children that. I've had to tell that to my child. This is just another example of the systemic racism that's not only in New Rochelle, not only in New York City, not only in Atlanta, not only in Los Angeles or Texas or Milwaukee, but it's throughout this country. Let us not forget our history. The police were first formed in this country to control black slaves trying to run away from freedom. Run away to freedom. So there is an underlying systemic racism within policing that needs to be eradicated and fixed, or we will continue to have these ridiculous funerals time and time again. Now, I'm not a political science major. And maybe I'm new to New Rochelle and don't know the laws here. But to my knowledge, being hungry is not a capital offense. Being hungry is not a reason to be murdered, to be killed. We need to see the complete body cam footage. Not only that, we need to know in detail what type of training these police officers have. Do they have any racial diversity training? Do they truly have de-escalating training to people of color? Are they truly trained how to deal with situations so they don't end tragically like this? Beloved, you have my prayers, you have my condolences, and in family, Mount Carmel is open to you for whatever it is you need. May God bless you, and may God save America.
Thank you, Pastor. Our next three speakers are Marvin Whittle, Peter Parenti, and Miriam Decine.
Peace, New Rochelle. Peace. Greetings to the council. It's a shame when you have to stand in front of a body of people and explain to people that you are people. We, people, have been crying since July 3rd. We've been crying for the last 3 years. We were crying from 1984 when you guys took my big brother Batman, Alvin Flowers. We were crying from the 60s, crying from Jim Crow, crying from slavery, crying from being taken from our homes, crying for being called thugs. I have a 19-year-old son. I have a 26-year-old daughter. I raised my son to not look at the police as allies, because they are not in our community. The way we see protect and serve, you protect private property. You serve the interests of corporate America. You don't give a damn about us. We continue to appeal to you for your humanness. But growing up in New Rochelle, the first time I had a fight for being called a nigger, I was in 2nd grade. And I reached over from my desk and I punched the boy in his mouth. And I almost got in trouble until my teacher, an Italian, Miss Rinaldi, said, no, you talked about his people and that hurt him. So I do know that we have some good people in this community. I've had friends from all walks of life growing up here. I love New Rochelle. I do not love the way my people are being corralled. When we left from the press conference to walk in front of the store, we were surrounded. We weren't protected. Our rights to speak weren't being protected. We were being corralled, so in case them niggas got uppity, we got control over the situation. I found myself almost at odds with one of my brothers to keep him safe out there because I dearly love him and I didn't want to see another shooting that damn day.
I'm ready to die.
But I'm not ready for you two. I'm ready for us to finally live. We just want to live. I have not heard of my community going into your community and blowing shit up. But you guys do come to our community and tear us up as much as you can.
We want to live.
When I encounter police, I'm nervous. I could continue. We could talk for 2 more days, and I'll still not be anywhere close to done. But you know the story as well as I do. So when is something going to change? When are you going to find it in your hearts to look at yourselves and just adjust some of the things that you think? We're people.
Thank you, sir. Peter Parenti. Is Mr. Parenti still present? Okay, Miriam Dasim?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you, family, and very sorry for what's happened to you. Condolences to you and condolences to our community, because this is felt by all of us. New Rochelle is like that. We're family. We're either blood family, we're purple family, but we're family. So we all feel it. This is a result of continuous failed policies and practices. Some of us are here regularly. Today you have a full room because you often talk about how we don't care and we don't show up. But we're here today. How are you going to handle that? What are you going to do with that? Because you really don't represent us. And it shouldn't take this for you to even begin to understand how much you're killing us every day. We lost this young man today. We lost Kamal 3 years ago to almost the date. We lost Alvin Flowers back. Church's Chicken was there. That's where it happened, and shut that down, and it turned into a Kentucky Fried Chicken. But this is something because you don't do a job that you are being paid for handsomely. We don't get the jobs here anymore, civil service. We used to be in the civil service inside of City of New Rochelle. Everybody, all the time, I'm telling you, Kathleen, Yadira City Council 3 just made history, you call it. Now want to be mayor, Gnome's prodigy. You don't represent us. And I've been saying this to you, your brown vagina doesn't represent my black vagina. And you should be ashamed of yourself. You shouldn't even be proud or even think about that you want to run and you want to do this, because there's not one vote that you took that helped us. I walked with you when we looked at the new building of the Boys Club, and I said, why are you putting a parking lot in front of our kids' pool? That's going to be the view that they see. Oh, I don't know. Just like you don't know why you got the $60,000. But you want to represent us. You tore up Hartley Homes and put up some trash. You dispersed our community. I hear they were in North Carolina. Most of our people have to go to North Carolina because they can't afford to live here and again. But you keep telling us about affordable housing and how we're building these new buildings, and this is what's good. This is what happens when you don't take care of your people. These cops get, this is this cop, but these cops get promoted every day, putting our kids in jail every day. This has got to change. You don't represent us. All of you got to leave. We celebrated when the women got on there. Oh, it's all women. Yay. It's going to be different. Not one vote is for the people.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's got to change. Y'all got to go.
Our next speakers are... Charlene Nixon. I'm sorry I can't read the first name. It looks like maybe Sadara Bay, and Scott Stevenson.
Sean Bay.
Sean Bay, my apologies.
Taught how to keep a straight face.
Hi, everyone. I'm Charlie Nixon, 7 Davenport Avenue. And unfortunately, I was there during this. My condolences to the family. And it was terrifying. It was terrifying. I had to figure out how to get away as you see the cops swarming in, because I did not know what was going to happen and if it was going to happen to me. Okay, so I happen to know a lot of people in this room, and I have a lot of faith in the people in this room, whether it be the community or the leaders of the community. I've had conversations, and I know that we are capable of change. We are capable of taking positive actions. And standing here or being in this room and calling names and shaming others isn't going to give us the change that we want. We have to come up with a plan and sit with our leaders to execute these plans. And until we do that, we're going to just be in a room making noise and shaming people and pointing fingers. And you know what that's going to get us? Nothing. Nothing.
That's why you gotta act bad.
And no, we don't need to act bad. We need to have a plan, and we need to have actions, and we need to hold people accountable. This has been a very rough time for me. I have experienced mental illness within my family, and I have reached out, and I had members of this community show up for me when my son, and I'll share it here, my son attempted suicide. Okay? And I can tell you, at 2 o'clock in the morning, Sugar Plum got out of her bed and drove to Long Island to help me find my son. But I'll tell you this also. The cops in Freeport, Long Island showed up. They showed up with kindness. They showed up with an understanding and with respect. And they didn't look like me or my son, okay? But they showed up. And I'm sharing this very personal thing because I know with the right training and with the right plans, and we can make this happen. We can make this happen. Education changes everything. Okay, and we have to show respect. Regardless, I don't have to agree with you and you don't have to agree with me, but you should respect me.
Sacrifice.
You should respect me. Okay, regardless of where I am from, with the accent I have or don't have or whatever, my socioeconomic, my white, my green, my black, my purple, you should respect me. Okay, there is a plan and I know change is going to happen.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bay? Sean Bay? Okay.
People need to study history,
Peace.
Peace.
First, I just want to say thank you to the community, to the committee for hearing everybody. And I just want to thank you for everybody for what you already had to say. I'm not too much of a public speaker. I'm a DJ, so I wrote a couple of notes. I just want to make sure I get a few points out. For one, I didn't even see the video. All right, like I just don't do trauma porn. I don't even want to enter that in my psyche. But I didn't need to see the video to know basic fundamental facts about the law. Like, we need to deal with the law. I didn't need to see the video to know what happened. All right, like, first of all, we got to deal with the difference between law enforcers and policy enforcers. Like that's why we call them police, because they enforce policies, not necessarily like real natural laws. Okay. Like, for example, I could legally pull out and shoot 2 or 3 of y'all right now if I legitimately felt that you was a threat to my life. Am I right or wrong? And they are. No, they're not. Not right now. But if I legitimately felt that at the moment my life was being threatened, I can pull out and kill somebody. And that's the bullshit excuse that the police use when they do this. Now, like I said, let's deal with the law. Let's deal with basic things about the law. They say he had a gun. They say that he said he had a gun. Something that most of the community does not know, and they probably ought not to know. However, as a result of this situation, goddamn it, they need to know. Nobody can take a police officer's gun, and each and every one of y'all know that. Each and every police officer knows that. You cannot reach out and take a holster. It has a clamp. It has a clamp like this. The only way to get a police officer's gun, you have to hit it, push, pull it down and around, and pull it out. Each and every one of those officers knew that. They knew that. So the bullshit excuse that they used to murder that man was nonsense. Okay? So now we got to deal with, what do we want? And no disrespect to everybody who spoke, but I heard of a lot of emotional things that to me are kind of irrelevant. Sorry, but there's this one basic demand, how we respond to this. We need manslaughter charges against those officers.
Simple. Manslaughter charges against those officers. Like, that's how we prevent these things from continuing to happen in the future. There has to be some accountability and reasonable response. No murder, because that's bullshit. We all know how that works. They did not do murder. There's plausible deniability for what happened. But the two officers, the one who yelled gun and the one who shot as a response, same person. Correct me if I'm wrong, but manslaughter is a negligible action that resulted in somebody's death. Manslaughter charges for those. Okay, three, the last thing I want to say is this is overall a bad situation. A bad situation that creates an antagonistic environment between the police and the community. Like, that's supposed to be a good thing. Like, that's supposed to be, protect and serve and all of that. But the Supreme Court has ruled that the police do have no obligation to protect the community. Like, they're there to protect the policies and enforce the legislations and statutes.
Thank you, sir.
So, thank you very much. Peace and love.
Our next speaker is Scott Stevenson.
Answer to God, man, not the government.
Peace and blessings, everybody. I give my condolences to the Jarrell family. May Allah comfort you guys. I just want to speak on behalf of, I'm from Mount Vernon. My name is Scott Stevenson. And I came to New Rochelle in 2012. 2013, I was confronted with an incident with the police. If you Google my name, Scott Stevenson, New Rochelle, it'll come up, the article. It'll say false warrant, and they intruded my house. Now, there's a recent incident that just happened back in April. And with again, 10 years later, police raided my family's house, illegal search, illegal seizure. I ran into this mayor right here, and you remember me in the parking lot? And I told you, explained to you everything, and you said, oh, that's horrible, I'm sorry, but I'm the mayor, I have no power, I can't do nothing, there's nothing I can do. All right, that's what he told me. Now, I contacted, don't try to get it with this girl right here, this lady here, the city manager. I contacted your office. I called you. I left an email. I called your secretary, and she said the same thing. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, she will get right to you immediately. So the whole reality, what I'm saying is, when a fish doesn't stink from the middle here, it stinks from the head down. You do the hiring, you're responsible. And that's what's going on. Now, the incident what happened with my family that's going on that nobody wants to hear or address, she never contacted me back, and I will be at your office tomorrow morning. She never responded. I will be there to see how you answer this. There's a city marshal by the name of Will Ortez. He is the one who came with the illegal warrant to my family's house and confiscated the entire apartment right now. Everything's about to be taken away from my family that they put in storage, okay, illegally. And nobody's doing nothing. Went to the DA's office about this marshal. Oh, okay, yeah, we gotta go to the police department. They will arrest him. They will file him with charges. Go to the police department. You have to go to the DA's office. So, okay, nobody wants to do nothing. Nobody wants to do anything. Okay, I go to, I was told to contact, there was a guy running for mayor by the name of Mayor, I think like that, M-A-H-Y-E-R. Contacted him, sent him an email. He responded immediately. His aide responded and was like, this is awful. She contacted the DA's office to get charges filed against the marshal. And they told her the same thing. She must go to the police department. I said, they told me the same thing. So she is the only one who responded. Mayor's the only one who responded. I'm now going to the Attorney General's office, but not before I stop by your office tomorrow morning and see how you handle this now. Because it's no more being like scared to speak out against injustice. Everybody's held accountable for their actions. Right. You're a cop, you're a politician, this person is dirty, you don't defend him. You let him go. Let him sit in his shit he made. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
And no more, hold on. You said that the officers involved in the shooting, why didn't he just pay for it? Since the officer that knew him, or they already knew he had a problem, why didn't they pay for his fruit and then handle it later on with the father? It makes no sense.
Thank you, sir.
And then, hold. It shouldn't be the charges. I mean, the charges should be on all of them. They all need to be charged. In the hood, what they do to us? They charge you with, you get 50 years for aiding and abetting. All need first-degree murder charges. All of them.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Patricia Ann Cherry, followed by David Peters.
Good evening, family. My heart goes out to Janet Raymond. We all know. My name is Patricia Cherry. I will be 59 years old. I grew up here in the city of New Rochelle. I went to Albert Leonard. No, I went to Webster. First I went to Barnard, Webster. Barnard, Webster, Albert Leonard, New Rochelle High School, college. Can't even think. I'm so baffled right now. All I have to do is say this. This 4-year-old granddaughter, we live at 33 Lincoln Avenue with a terrace on the 5th floor. She said, "Grandma, why are they doing that? Why are all the police out there? What's happening?" I'm teaching my 7-year-old grandson to put his hands up. They used to come into the elementary school and tell them that cops are friendly. Go to the police if something's wrong. They're going to help you. It's safe. I can't tell that to my children now. I have a 25-year-old. Every night I pray he comes home safe. He doesn't back down from anything or anybody. And it's not that I didn't teach him that. And recently I watched a movie. It's called Thug Life. Thug, the life you give. The hate you give, thank you. There's no way that these children should have to grow up in an environment where they can't learn life as everybody else does. Dr. Miller stood up here and spoke. He was my neighbor. My parents bought a house. 50 years we've been neighbors. I moved, but he's still there. He sees me. How you doing? How's the family? And I just need everybody to know this community. You are building towers and towers of residents. Get down, Kehlani Rose. Towers and towers and buildings and high-rises for 2 bedrooms. Meaning you're omitting children. You don't want me and my children to move in here because where they going to sleep? You're building high-rises for people who live in Manhattan who could afford the rent. We used to be City Park, over the hill, the Hollow. That's all you gave us. Now you're building all around us, and then you're squeezing us out. And if you can't squeeze us out, you're cutting all the resources for us to live out. So then now we got all these people coming in boats and ships and buses. Now they got a place to live. They got a Medicaid card. They got a food stamps. They don't have to worry about tomorrow. And they're going to get an attitude talking about, you can't book me over here because I can't get a job over here. We can't even get a job. All I'm saying is to think about us. You are supposed to be our community leaders. We are in generations. My grandmother lived in the projects. My mother lived there. I lived there. My daughter. And now it's time to do something different.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Peters?
Hello, my name is David Peters. I live at 112 Chauncey Avenue, New Rochelle, New York.
I apologize for that, Mr. Peters. Go ahead.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm here tonight because I wanted to listen very carefully to what was being said, and I wanted to listen very carefully to the reaction of those of you who are over here as the city council and the city manager and each and every one of you. And I want to thank, first of all, the Garris family and offer my condolences to you. And I really feel broken that all of this has happened once again when it didn't have to happen. We've been in this community for many, many years. And what remains the same is that each and every one of us, and myself as a black man, feel threatened and believe that any time I'm in an encounter with the police that I can die.
I shouldn't have to feel that way, but I do. I have to teach and have taught my children the same thing. There have been nights over the last 5 years where my son was in the woods, and he had reached me on the phone, and he called me because he was running from the police. And he wasn't in New Rochelle at that time, he was in a different county. And my response as his father was to drop everything that I could do and figure out a way how to get him out of there. It wasn't to call the police. It wasn't to call anybody to help him. It was to try to save his life, because I knew that in that moment, for anything at all, he could die. And so I'm saying that to say that as I'm here today, the concern that I always have and will always remain with me is this sense of death that somehow passes by, as if it's something that doesn't matter for people, doesn't matter for government, it doesn't matter for policing. We talk about it again and again and again and again, and I don't need to see the full tapes. The verdict on this was up right away as soon as you saw the first 30 seconds of an encounter. You have a man in front of you who, in the entire time, as far as I know, never said a word. You do not have to be a weatherman to know the way the wind blows. He never said a word. I never heard of anything at all in any point in time in the school, in the store or otherwise, where he uttered a syllable. When he was spoken to, it was clear that he was not able or willing to respond to what was happening, mostly able. And he walked out because of what? Because he had eaten some grapes, as has already been mentioned. I do that in any store that I go, and I don't even buy a grape. It will never happen. Well, I will not open up grapes and eat grapes before buying them. It will never, ever happen. So there is no reason for us to be in this place that we're in. When he goes outside, he's followed. There were so many different ways in which he could have been walked, he could have been talked to, he could have been listened to. It could have taken time, but it didn't happen. There's no reason for any officer to run up to him and yell and scream at him and talk about, you're under arrest, and grab him. If somebody grabs me, I'm going to tense up and I'm going to respond. If you grab me and you hold me and you try to grab my other hand, I'm going to respond. If we have a police department that doesn't understand that, then it's more than a problem. It becomes a way of life. And our children and all of us grow up with this way of life of understanding that we don't matter. And so, but it does matter. It matters that if we have a police department that has guns and they come into our community, because he didn't have a gun, then maybe the officers shouldn't have a gun. They don't need guns. What's the point of having guns if the only objective of it that we've seen is that another black man gets shot and killed? Then you don't need to have it. If you've got all kinds of armor and all kinds of other stuff, then don't come into our community with guns. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. So, this has to stop. And it's not going to stop by us just talking about it. It's only going to stop by us being committed for it to end. I'm committed.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. I do not have any additional cards that have been filled out. Are there additional cards at the table? Okay. Is there anyone else?
Say something?
I cannot allow someone to speak
I left
for
a
second
minute
time.
and 34 seconds.
No,
Jose,
Sir,
right? Jose.
sir, I'm sorry.
Jose has a history.
Sir, I must ask you, sir, please to take a seat, sir.
He has a wall of shame of people who swear. Is that legal? Post pictures of people who stole?
Sir, please have a seat. And I see that there's another. I see that there is another speaker who wishes to speak. You can hand in the card after you've spoken.
40 misdemeanors. You think I give a fuck about what you're saying? Just shut up, man.
Won't him nothing. You think we're going to talk him? We're not going to talk him to change.
Is that Dr. Woolbright? Dr. Woolbright, please go ahead.
That's it. Enough already.
Thank you, Dr. Woolbright. Please proceed.
You know, I'm sitting there and I'm struggling. I'm trying not to say anything because I come to these meetings, we speak, we get angry, we react, and we have to be proactive. City Council, I know that you're impressed with the number of people here today. The family, I'm so saddened by what has happened with you. Like other people have said, I have a son. My son, when he was in elementary school, I talked to him about how to respond when he's affronted by a police officer. And he did. Most of us who have a son have had some encounter with the police. And fortunately, my son lived to tell the story. And I'm so sorry that yours didn't. But as a community, we have to get our act together. We have to get out here, we have to organize, we have to choose our leaders. We cannot let people choose our leaders for us. This last primary, there were less than 4,000 people out of Democrats of 40,000 in the city who came out to vote. That is unconscionable and unacceptable, and we have to be held responsible for that. We have to be able to vote for those people who represent us and vote for those people who look like us, and not just look like us, but sound like us, lived our lives and know our lives to be able to represent us. We cannot let other people choose our leaders for us. So I'm saying to our community, I'm sorry, I didn't start off. I'm Carla Woolbright, Dr. Woolbright, former president of NAACP. Many of you know me. Most of you know my husband, Ron Williams, who also was a New Rochellian and has been very active in this community. We have to organize, and we have to hold people accountable, but the only way to do that is to do it in the right way. We have to organize, we have to plan, we have to get together, and we have to act as a community to be able to ask these people to represent us and our community. So I'm hoping that this will be a step off. I'm sorry, but most of the time when we take action, it's because of some serious situation that happened, and a lot of times it's because of loss in our community. So we have to get ourselves together and take control of this situation so we're not coming to another meeting 2 years from now or next week with another person. And yes, I understand the emotion, but we have to keep it together where you're not the next person's funeral that we're going to. So please, let's stay together, let's organize, let's choose our leader, and let's get them speak for us, and we have to be able to support them in that mission. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. If I mispronounce, then my apologies. Our next speaker is Lakaya Lasu, and that'll be...
My name is Lakaja.
Excuse me if I'm out of order, but can I point out that a couple of council members are out of order? I'm like, thank you, Mayor, for like your attention. That way you're not looking to your left. Council members are extremely out of order.
Okay, all right, sir, thank you. Thank you for the comment. Ma'am, you can proceed.
First off, I knew Jarrell. God bless his soul. We went to Isaac, knew him from there. And the people are tired. When I say tired, we tired. All of y'all have eaten and fed your kids and taken care of your families, went on vacations off of our tiredness too of working and taxes and everything. Something has to be done. People do not want war. We do not want a war. That's not, because if that's the case, it's not going to be beautiful. That's not what you want from our people. That's not what you want. Something has to be done. It has to be done. I'm afraid for my child. I'm thinking as my son, he goes in the store and eat grapes. You're going to attack my 6-year-old son because he was hungry in the store? It does not make sense. And I'm sure that every person here has to feel the same way. People are tired. We are here as a community to work together. We put you guys in office. everybody here who voted, the people, we put you guys in office. You have to give back to us. That's how it works. You give and we receive in return. It can't be sitting here, we have meetings, we have the news, and then nothing gets done. I want to know what plan of action is next after this. What's going to happen? What's the next meeting where this is going to happen and we're seeing actual results? Not just talking, not just a meeting, not just the media out there when there's chaos and stuff going on. What happens to our community? That store, I hope that store never opens again. Never opens again. And I pray that somewhere you turn that into something for our people. Give us some jobs. Help us as we help you guys get into this office and sit up here at a higher level in which you guys take your vacations, do everything you do to provide for your family. Understand, this young man was innocent in eating that grape. This is before we get to that. Everybody, another resident said it. He goes in the store, that's a Caucasian man. He goes in the store, he eats grapes. He's not attacked. He's not attacked. There was no proper research done. Did they go to the store and even check a video to see if he actually did what they said that he did? The story done got flipped around so many different times. So many different times. And this is, like I said, my friend, somebody I went to school with, it's hurting my heart because we all have kids here that are growing up. Nobody wants their child to be in this situation over something so minute. Something that's so minute when there's so many more problems and things that the community could be focused on and putting their energy to. We have to have justice for these families. It's really ridiculous, you know, and it doesn't make sense because every last one of us in here is human. We all have family, and we would not like it if it was us in this predicament, and nothing is being done. We have to do something. We want action.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Eric Stevenson.
Good evening to all, and to my condolences to the family.
Excuse me, sir, if you just suspend for a moment, I want to give you the opportunity to speak without interruption. So
30 more seconds.
Right. Yeah.
My condolences to the family. I did not know the family, but I know myself. And where one hurts, we all hurt, regardless of where we at. I was here and I said I have to speak because I was remembering the time when there was a white police officer who had his foot on the throat of George Floyd, and people were rallying all up in the Midwest. And I heard a white man come on and say, don't get involved, let them vent, because after 2 days they're going to go away. If you keep fueling the fire, it's going to keep going on. They're going to burn a couple of cars, but over the history since Dr. King and before up to now, they've been studying the reactions when black people were killed. And they said what we found out is after these things happen, they would react and vent for a few days and go away if you just let them do it. But my thing is enough. And to the New York City Council and to the mayor and whoever's here, my thing is this. Something has to be done on this. Just like if we were to have shot and killed someone to be charged, those police officers have to be charged. So my thing is this. What happened with George Floyd in the Midwest, you know what they did? Every member in the community went out and started a voter registration drive. They started community organizing in meetings in homes. You know what they did? They removed the whole city council in the next election and took it over. So the message to power is don't take this for a joke. Start to organize the community right now. Start to register the voters and your neighbors and all. If you don't like that parking lot in front of your park, organize your community. That's right. Shut these people out. Right. You could vote them in and you can vote them out. That's right. It's a quid pro quo. Every time they want you to do for them, they come give you hamburgers and hot dogs and sodas for your summer party. But yet they're giving mansions and high rises to others while they're feeding you hamburgers. But my thing is this. And that's fine. You should buy your own food and let them keep theirs. And hot dogs and hamburgers, we need better diets anyway. But my thing is this. Organize. Register voters. Talk to your neighbors. Get political action committees together now. I used to work in this town in politics with a guy named Arnie Klugman. I know what is New Rochelle. We help elect judges here. We help elect politicians in this town. I know what is New Rochelle. We did it in Mount Vernon. We did it with Andy Spano. I worked for them. I helped elect them. George Latimer, I helped elect them. But this is unacceptable. But it's simple as this. Today, everyone up here, is on the seat of judgment of God. You could take it or leave it, whether you believe in God or don't. But I tell you one thing, God is witnessing what every one of you have in your heart, and he's going to witness every bit of action that you'll take. So the battle's no longer here. It's with the higher power. Some of you may have children and so on, but karma, you don't know how God's going to turn that karma and send it down. So make your decisions. We all love our children. I know you love yours. But how you decide to give justice to the death of this man may clear your karma for you. But if not, it's out of my hands. Your police can't arrest God.
That's right.
Your police can't shoot God. Your police can't handcuff God. Your police can't shut down God. So you leave it up in your hands.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who has not already spoken who wishes to speak at this time? Okay. Is there anyone else? Ms. Francella, do you wish to speak? Yes. You can fill out a card after you've spoken.
Mr. Mayor, can you tell your city manager to wake up? Check her urine.
Okay.
Good evening. First, I want to say my deep condolences, to your family. This has impacted our entire city. We all feel it from many different ways. So I ask, we have very smart people who want to do the right thing. We need to bring resources into our community. You have a crisis mobile unit that should have responded to this incident. Bring it to the city. We also have, as you well know, a large number in our community who are really suffering at Oasis. They're homeless, they're mentally ill, they have drug addiction, and they need services. If we don't bring those resources, these incidents are going to continue to happen. We need those resources here. We need them from the county. We need them from our state. Please bring these resources into our community. That's all I ask.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak at this time? There are no further speakers for citizens to be heard. I will therefore call the session to a close. Permit me to say just one thing. It is the nature of these hearings that they tend to be one way. We listen, but we do not engage in dialogue. And sometimes I know that creates the impression of indifference among council members that we do not care. And so I think it is, Show us that you care. And so I think it is important for me to acknowledge the pain that is in this room, to acknowledge that this has been a trauma for our entire community, and especially to acknowledge that the greatest trauma, the most personal trauma, that the heaviest burden is borne by the family of Jarrell Garris, who are sitting here in the front row. And to you, I wish to express my deepest condolences and sympathies. I wish you all, that is the conclusion of our session tonight. I thank all those who offered comments. Go in peace.
Your body speaks more than your mouth. Body